Hi, I'm Tim Abel. I'm the creator of SQL Schema Explorer, a tool I've created to help you get to grips with a database that you or your team member maybe hasn't seen before. I'll dive straight into showing you around the features. What we're looking at here is the front page of a running Schema Explorer, in this case pointed at a SQLite database called Chinook, which is an example. The first thing that you see is a diagram of all of the tables within the database, and the arrows are showing you the foreign key relationships between the tables, so you can get a feel immediately for how things hang together without having to drag and drop them in a designer or anything like that. It has no prior knowledge of this schema. It's generated on the fly from scratch. So you can see one of the interesting things is a self-referencing key on the employee table. Track is clearly an important table within this database. So we're going to use the tool to try and learn a bit more about this example. So under here we have a tabular list of the tables. These are all clickable, so you can go and see what's in them, and the current row count, which is I find a very useful piece of information to get a feel for a database. And then we have all of the foreign keys in the database. These will have names if I've got the support running, so for Postgres and SQL Server this will show the names. So let's pick a table to go and have a look at. So track seems to be important, so let's go and have a look at track. So we can click within the diagram, or we can click the links below. So we're just going to click in the diagram and see what we get. So the view here is for a table, in this case track. And what you see underneath is a diagram showing the table that we selected in the middle and the nearest neighbours in terms of relationships. So this is a useful quick idea to see how a group of tables relate to each other. If we move on, we get some more information about the schema. So this table's columns in detail, including inbound and outbound foreign keys, names, whether each field is nullable, which is I find a very useful piece of information. I'm currently working on whether each column is indexed, so you might see that by the time you actually get to it yourself, since this video was recorded. Then we have foreign key information in a different format. Depending on what you're trying to figure out, this might be useful. So for each column in this table you can see the table name that it links to and the column name that is again linked to, and you can click through to the other table to learn more about that. And then we have the view of the actual data, where we can learn a lot more about what kind of thing this database is intended to be for. Because it's all very well having name as a column in a database, but that doesn't necessarily tell you what kind of data you might see in it. So it's very interesting to see, oh, this looks like track titles. That's quite a meaningful piece of information. These ones that are grey, these are foreign key columns. So in this case we have album ID that links off to the specific record in album. So if we want to know, okay, Restless and Wild, oh, that's album ID 3, which is typically not particularly useful information, rather than having to write a SQL query to go and find out what that is, we can just click on it, and that jumps us to the album view. So this is now looking at the album table. We can see it also in the title of the page, and it will be up at the top of the page as well. And it's showing us the data filtered to album ID 3, so we now know that the album is called Restless and Wild, so that was obviously the title track. And we can also go backwards, so for album Restless and Wild we can find out what tracks have that belong to that album. So if we click on that, we can see that there are 3 tracks on this album, so I guess it's a single or an EP. And we have Fast as a Shark, Restless and Wild, Princess of Dawn. That's kind of interesting. I can see the composer, but I wonder who the artist is. So let's see if we can go and figure that out. So let's take a punt that maybe artist is in album. Yes, artist is in album, so we can jump straight through. the artist is called Accept, which is a strange name for an artist, but there you go. And then we can go back and see what albums they have. The wonderfully named Balls to the Wall, which always seems to come up in my demos for some reason, but there you go. So that is what it is. If we want a better view, we can go card view. So for something that's very wide, we can flip to this view. And if we want to just see all of the records in this table, now that we're on album, we can click clear filter, and we can see them all, in this case in card view, and we can flip back to table view. So there's a very quick way of getting around different pieces of the database and trying to understand what's in it, or if you're trying to answer a specific question. I've also got sorting, so let me just show you how that works quickly. So if I click on price, that's now an ascending filter. If I click it again, it's a descending filter. Oh, they're all £1. That's not very helpful, is it? Let's clear the filter. So we're still descending, but now we've got some different prices. If I then click another column, so let's go name, it will keep the unit price sort and also add the name sort. Now I can toggle the direction of the name sort. So we can keep doing this. We can build up sorting, and the little number is telling you what order the sort is in. You can add more filters just in the query string if you want to do something that user interface doesn't currently do. The filters and sorting are nicely encoded up there in the query string, so feel free to hack away and make that do whatever you want. So for example, if I go and look at the invoices, that's a bad example. If I go and look at invoice 3, you can see up here invoice 3 is in the title, but if I wanted to filter by billing city, I can literally go and type that in there, and we can see all the things in Brussels, even though there's no way currently of doing that in the user interface, and then everything still carries on working. So what else might we want to do or find out about in this schema that we don't know? Well, if we go back to the overall database view, we might think, well, we kind of want to know about track, but we also want to remember the artist and playlist, but we're not interested in all of this invoicey stuff. So we have a visited tables system which shows you where you've been. So if I reset that and go back to the database, if we go media type, track, genre, back to track, don't want invoice line, we do want to see what playlist it's on, back to track, and then follow album to artist. What have we missed? We haven't gone playlist. And then if, having visited these tables, we can go to the visited tables. Now we have immediately created a diagram of this information about the tracks and the playlists and genres without bothering to include any of the invoice lines. This is a task I find really tedious in other development studios, and so Microsoft Management Studio, for example, for SQL Server. It's a very pointy clicky exercise to generate something like this. And then if you wanted to keep that, so this is kept in your browser cookies currently, you can click permalink and it'll turn it into a URL with the list of tables. And then if we open that in a new private browsing window, you can see that this has been kept. And if I just keep that down in the corner, let's put that down there. So if I clear the table trail and go somewhere else, so let's say we now care about invoices and customers and employees and what else? Oh, maybe we just want album as well, so we've got some disconnect going on here. This one that we saved earlier with a permalink, if I refresh that, is still exactly as it was. So you can have, if I open that in a new tab, you can see you can have as many of these floating around as you want. So you could bookmark these. Why is that not jumping? Oh, because it's a private tab, of course. So you could maybe send that URL to a colleague or someone you're trying to help out or explain something to, and they can see the same thing that you can. That does caveat that you would need Schema Explorer running either both have it running or shared somewhere on your network, which is something I encourage, particularly if you can hook it up with a CI system. So I think that's about the size of it, and I will let you get on with your day. So make sure you sign up to the mailing list if this is something you think is interesting, and I look forward to getting your feedback about what you might use it for, or what you would like to see in here, what problems you've come across that you think that this could help you solve. So do jump on the mailing list, and please do get in touch with your thoughts. Thanks for your time.